Welcome to In My Experience. I'm Sonya Lee.
I'm Piperlyne.
Just reading something last night about that and how we tend to continue to push ourselves to do things and deny ourselves because of trauma that we had in childhood. Mushroom Healer shared it. And I was just like, wow, okay, let me pin this so I can come back and read it again later. But it's like so true. And I can't really think about, in childhood, these things that might have made me like not eat all day and half the night. And they were talking about things like, instead of just going to the bathroom when you need to go to the bathroom, you just hold it for too long of a period because you're denying yourself even the self-care of taking a pee when you need to, right? And how these are all like trauma responses that we learn, from various needs that weren't met or neglectfulness or straight out abuse or whatever. And it's just like, damn, this is just getting to be ridiculous. Like, at some point I have to just say, all right, I'm going to do better. I'm going to treat myself better, okay? I'm going to pee when I need to pee. I'm going to eat. I'm going to be hungry. But the thing that's so interesting on top of that was, these are not weak people. It takes an incredible amount of strength and self-discipline to be able to tamp down your hunger, right?
So I think you just because I was thinking about this, I think you just stumbled onto our conversation. At least this is part of it. Self-care.
Yeah.
And absolutely, and trauma-related responses. Yeah. And I mean, I can't tell you how often, and this is because this is something that is currently happening with me right now. Because I have not felt good for a while.
Right.
Physically, I have not felt well for a while, and I could point to all sorts of different things, but I haven't come up with the core reason as to why. Something that I can do other than just address the symptoms to help it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I've been thinking about self-care, and I have always found self-care annoying.
Well, let's talk about that today. Let's talk about self-care. So I'm Sonya Lee.
And I'm Piperlyne.
And you are listening to In My Experience. And we often sort of start talking and let the mic go open before we actually start. And today we came up with something to talk about because self-care is not only a big thing, it is the thing we've been struggling with. And, not to lay excuses, but it's been the reason that we haven't been able to put out consistent weekly podcasts.
Absolutely.
Again, no excuses.
No, it's just a reality.
It's a reality. And it's a reality for a lot of people right now to just get through the day.
Right. I mean, we're sitting here thinking that if this is a problem that we're experiencing, we can't be the only ones.
No.
We can't be.
And the best we can do is just to talk about what we're going through so that maybe, well, not only is it cathartic for us, it's always good when we can sort of talk with each other about our things. Maybe there's something that makes you go, oh, hey, I didn't, you know what, that might be me too. Right. And then, then you can go on your own self-exploration of why is life such a struggle? And I'm not even going to say right now.
No. Right now, it just
amplified.
Yes, it just pointed out. Yeah. Oh, you didn't realize that was a problem? Here, let me show you how that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've totally been like, God, I have to take a shower again. Oh. And it's not
it's not that you don't want to be clean.
No, it's not that, and it's not even that I don't love taking a shower. Hello, I'm a Pisces, standing under water, warm water, or sitting, taking a bath, sitting in a warm. Hello, it's lovely, but yeah, it's part of that self-care, like going grocery shopping. I get overwhelmed.
Yeah, I try not to do that unless I have to.
Go grocery shopping?
Yeah, leave that to my spouse.
That's lovely. I mean, I can hop in and get Nolan's food because he's he's fairly consistent about what he's willing to eat. But
yes. And then going in and looking, what do I want? I was listening to somebody the other day, and they said something like, just walk into the place, like go into the grocery store, go into the produce section, and just walk around and just say, all right, direct me towards what my body needs, to try to just sort of eat. And I've always been sort of an intuitive eater. And lately, I don't want to eat. So there's that. And so I'm like, okay, let me just, what feels good. I don't know what feels good.
Right.
Did end up getting some little stir-fry vegetables that I added some rice noodles to and made a pretty good little pad thai-ish dish last night.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, that whole thing, though, was just such an act of effort, and I don't know what else to call it. It makes me tired just thinking about it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I don't, self-care is so much more than going to get your nails done or going to get your hair done. And not that isn't also self-care.
Yeah.
Doing those things.
Sure.
But
and self-care is not just having 5 minutes to yourself away from the family to grocery shop.
No.
Which I know a lot of people, like, this is my alone time.
Yes.
I get to shop by myself.
I resemble that.
Yeah, that's not good self-care. I mean, the recognition that, yes, in this moment, I get to just be with me. I guess that is self-awareness.
It is something.
So, yeah. And there's more to it than that. There's not being the last one to sit down to eat.
Yeah.
After you've gotten up 12 times to take care of everybody else's, needs for a meal.
Right.
Or, that's what we used to see a lot, right? With our mothers when they were, stay-at-home moms and dinner on the table at 5 and all that. I mean, I didn't have that kind of mom, but...
Some people did somewhere.
I put the dinner on the table by 5. It's just, we see, we learn, we shift a little, but not enough.
Yeah.
We still are doing things for others and not also taking care of ourselves. And one of the things that I try to look at for myself is, all right, I look at everything that I'm doing for someone, and then I ask myself, well, what is it that I need? Because maybe I don't need the thing that I see others are getting, but if I'm in this space of, why aren't my needs being met? First place I have to look is at myself.
Right.
Because I'm not real good at asking or really receiving. So that makes it difficult for someone to meet my needs.
I'm not going to tell you, and I'm not going to accept it, but...
I need it now.
I need some help.
And maybe there are people out there that have that same kind of a issue.
Guaranteed. I'm sure there are.
And, and then being single mom, there's nobody to ask if you wanted to. Because, you could ask yourself.
Well, I am lucky in the sense that I have the support of my mother.
Yes.
Which I am absolutely sure that Nolan and I would not have made it through without her during some periods of time in our life. But yeah, I mean, I am still the one that is responsible for Nolan. Yeah. And if he wakes up at 2:00 in the morning, which he has for almost 2 weeks now, and someone needs to get up with him, that's me. And that's what it is. But so there's things that we can change. There's things that we can't change based off of the circumstances of our life. Yeah. So there's things that we need to adjust within ourselves. And absolutely 100% pure honesty, I have absolutely given up self-care in the process of raising my son. Yeah. Because I had to. There was little option. But we've turned a corner in our life recently, and so there's some things that are changing between us, so that can become more of an awareness. But it's interesting because I also find in my lack of self-care for myself, I haven't been teaching Nolan his own self-care. And so that is an interesting piece for me that I have become aware of, that I have started addressing.
Nice.
Because for me, I mean, it was just easier for me just to do whatever needed to be done. Because I was freaking exhausted, and I'm just like, let's just do it and be done with it.
Sure.
But that is a change for us, and one that I am excited about.
Yeah, and it's helpful for him as well, because it helps to teach that independence. It also helps to self-identify, and I think that's a thing too. I notice, sometimes with my son who's 17, and 17-year-olds like to just stay in their room and not hang out with their parents, but he has had some struggles himself, and so I have to sort of keep that ever vigilant eye. And what I've sort of been doing is working on transferring that back to him. Of, you need to look at and identify when you are struggling, and then reach out. You know, and the whole "how you doing? I'm fine." That doesn't cut it. I need more from you than that. I need you to go deeper into that. And these are things that he's gotten some help with through therapy and things like that as well. Again, he's not seeing me do a whole lot of this. I mean, he sees me meditate. He sees me, do the different things that I do. And then I'm running at Mach, speed the rest of the day. So, and then also too, because, he's not been in school since March.
Right.
And not seen a whole lot of his friends, and had a lot of interaction, and, not even seen a whole lot of sunshine. Yeah. You just go out and get a little sunshine on the top of your head. There's some self-care for you.
Right.
There's some self-care, right? But I was reading this post that someone had, and it's this gentleman, I think his name is Stephen Porges, and it says, "Feeling safe is the treatment, and creating safety is the work." And it drew me in, of course, because I wanted to see what it was talking about. And it talks about how our patterns impact our health. And, for example, I go into a rage as an adaptive function because I shut down. So I keep moving, and I can't shut down, but I also can't relate and create relationships. And I was like, ooh, I might resemble that remark. So what the body's blocking, the shutdown, and how it causes, problems in our health and in our relationships, it's like there's one part, it's like compartmentalizing, right? There's one part of us that's just like, oh, can't go there. But the other part of us is like, oh, can't stop though. Must keep going.
Right.
And so just looking at that, and looking at some of the challenges this year, and I really know that I have had a lot to be very grateful for this year, comparatively to what we've all been dealing with collectively.
Right.
And I am grateful for that. And I also see where, because of that, it has not, life has not been a big enough distraction so that I could indeed focus on some of these more deeper things that really contribute to the overall merry-go-round that I sometimes catch myself on, if you dig me.
Yeah, but when you get to ride the unicorn on the merry-go-round, isn't that better?
Well, it's fun.
It's distracting,
as long as I don't run out of quarters.
Oh, this is true.
So, I'm being forced, because my outer life is not so bad. My inner life is now requiring my attention.
Yeah.
And that is about, how do I take care of myself? Well, there's these things that I'm working towards, but what am I going to do once I get there? If I'm a mess, or I've conditioned myself in such a way that all the things that I've worked for, I couldn't enjoy if I wanted to.
Right.
I mean, I didn't have the big 26, 28 people at Thanksgiving that I did normal, and it was super easy and super simple, and I still didn't have time to sit and chat and relax with people.
Oh.
because
that's interesting, isn't that?
Oh, it's really interesting.
Huh.
And I'm recognizing it at the level too. How great is this? I cooked a turkey and baked a pie. This is the easiest thing ever. And then Thanksgiving was over. I was exhausted and I felt like I didn't spend any time with anybody.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this made a lot of sense to me. And just another little thing in my self-exploration. And, I freely admit that, I came here to ascend as quickly as possible. And so that meant rip the Band-Aid off at every turn.
Right.
And I thought I'd ripped a lot of Band-Aid. Like, I thought I had already survived the death of 1,000 cuts.
My Band-Aid pile is pretty fucking high.
I could make a mummy out of it, okay?
And yet here we are.
And here we are. So that's kind of what do you think?
Well, it was interesting when you read that and then you were talking about compartmentalizing. The thought came to my head that compartmentalizing is a trauma response.
Yes.
Period.
Yes, it is.
If you compartmentalize, it is because of a trauma reaction. I mean, I think about when I went through the whole process of my pregnancy and, and all the problems that I had and the birth of my boys and the death of Eli and the NICU time and the medical fragility of Nolan for the first year. And girl, if I did not compartmentalize, I just would have sat and stared at a wall. And not that I didn't sit and stare at a wall at a good period for a good amount of time every so often. But yeah, if I didn't, my compartmentalization, man, it came out in spades. I was a queen. And the thing is, and I'm not saying that as that it shouldn't have happened, because it needed to. Literally, that loss was so large for me. I couldn't have been able to process it and function as I needed to, because I was still the mother of a child
who needed you,
who had problems, who needed help, and obviously love and mothering.
Right. Who needed you.
Yes.
And that meant you didn't get to deal with you because you had to take care.
I did even schedule times. I mean, I did. I scheduled times at the NICU. I scheduled times, and I would turn on sad music, and I'm like, we are going to feel something, because I am not going to carry this for 30 years. So, but that doesn't mean that I still don't have some leftover compartmentalization from that very large trauma, even 10 years later, because that's where we are now. But that, and looking at that, one of the things is this, as I mentioned in a previous podcast, stepping away from the nonprofit and possibly still taking some type of role, but being very small after a period of break. We'll see what happens. But I'm sure that it's related to that.
And probably related to something back in childhood.
Oh, absolutely. Guaranteed.
Right?
Yeah.
And so
I've seen it in childhood, yes.
So like, even though you said to yourself, I'm not going to carry this, you find that you are still carrying. And I think it's in those pieces for myself of confusion. Well, I don't understand this. I thought I had all my ducks in a row. I thought I had this one figured out. I know how to just, and some people would call that bypassing. And some people would call that self-preservation.
Right.
And so, there's a lot of different sort of labels that you can put on it. Conditioning.
Or
learned
just
responses.
Survival.
Right. All of these different things. And so, my trick is not to create another trauma when I have to fight and address trauma.
Yes.
Because there's also this current me standing there going, well, I just don't understand why I'm still not getting this, right? And then we talked about the that identity syndrome or whatever, where you feel like you're a fraud.
Oh yeah, the imposter
syndrome.
Yeah,
because I'm learning all kinds of new things here, and that's what happens when you have a lot of time at home. When you're not out living your best life, you're on the internet going down wormhole, rabbit hole, bolt hole,
digging deeper and deeper and deeper.
And so finding sort of, I'm like making like little paper chains here,
yeah,
of awarenesses, and not because I just want to feel clean and clear. Right? I'm not trying to find another label, right, or another way to identify myself, which brings me to another thing, right? Here I am. I'm in the second half of my life. Am I having identity crisis? Well, if I'm not that person anymore, who am I now? Well, it's not as big a deal for me because I like to change it up.
Well, I think both you and I mean, we're constantly looking and revisiting, yes, and so it's not saying that it can't or hasn't or won't happen to us. It's just not as... We've had practice in addressing it. Let's put it that way.
It's not as shocking to the system. I know that, and it's so true. I have no tattoos. However, I have always said that if I ever, like if someone put a gun to my head and said, you have to get a tattoo, it would probably be the only constant is change.
Gotcha.
Because that's, to me, when I think about it, I don't have anything against tattoos. I just never really come across anything that I felt that I wanted to have permanently on my body.
Right.
I change my hair color about every 2 or 3 months. So, it just, change is constant. And so I probably don't resist change as much as others. However, I've got a Cancer rising and a Capricorn moon, and neither one of them really like, fixed signs. Don't care a whole lot for change.
Want to be comfortable and in control.
Yes.
So if someone else brings change to you, you're like,
just a little, just a smidge. Not usually a big deal. I hear people screaming, "What?" into the... and so, but learning these things about myself, understanding myself at a deeper level, I think actually makes me a better person to be out there in the world.
Right.
And again, that is not self-care.
No, it's not at all. I mean, I don't even know. I was going to try to define self-care, and I don't even know. I mean, other than taking care of yourself, being aware of your needs and addressing them. And I think it's, at a core level, it's needs and wants. And and why haven't you done it?
Yeah.
And why aren't you doing it? And so many of us don't.
And see, to me, I think self-care is putting yourself first.
I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I don't have a problem with that definition. Thank you for clarifying that, Piperlyne. I don't have a problem with that definition. And well, the thing is, putting yourself first, absolutely. And there may be times where you feel is that you need to step back and do something else, but that's part of the process and the understanding of it, right? It doesn't, the conscious decision to do it.
Yeah, and our learning and our training, in our spiritual growth development, behavioral growth development, all of this, right? We talk about one of my favorite ways of sort of identifying this and looking at this that just really just is crystal clear for me is you are the director of your own movie.
Yeah.
So your set, your cast, your crew, all of that is your doing. You're the lead actor, you're the director, you're the producer, you're the writer, and everything else. It's your movie.
Right.
They're in your movie. This place is in this is the location you chose to have your movie, right? And so that's what I mean by you first.
Right.
Sometimes it's about, well, how will this, how will this affect me? What do I need from this? What do I need to do before I can give this? What do I need to sacrifice in order for that to So it's not, I'm sorry, I'm putting my needs first.
No.
It's just looking at and identifying the me that's in that moment.
Right.
Or that situation, or that interaction, or that whatever. That's a big change for me. That's self-care for me.
Yeah.
Because I got a lot of, I always say I don't believe in regret. I have, however, experienced a great deal of resentment in my life. And that's been because of those moments where I stepped all over myself, my needs, my self-care,
right,
my identity,
yeah,
my sovereignty, my right to take up space on this planet,
right,
in deference to someone else. And that was totally not self-care.
No.
Some of it learned, some of it coming from lifetime after lifetime after lifetime of who knows. Maybe I was a karmic asshole and now I'm paying back, I mean, Pisces sun, Cancer rising, Capricorn moon. Hello. All happening, in the 1st, 7th, and 10th house. Hello.
Yeah.
Me, other people in the world. How you doing?
Nice to
welcome
meet
to
y'all.
My movie.
There you go. This is my movie, and this is how we do it here.
Except that, no. So I laugh, and yet at the same time, I recognize that this is really deep work, right? And that's just how it shows up for me.
Right.
And I share that because maybe there's something in there that someone goes, wow, I kind of do. Maybe that is the reason why, instead of just always feeling bad and then shutting down.
Yeah.
Because what good does that do? We were talking the other day and I said, I'm just too much.
Oh, yeah.
And that was not, I'm too much for people. I'm just too much. And I'm sitting with now, is that a bad thing or not a bad thing? Right. And in doing that, I'm coming up against a denial and a rejection of self.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm supposed to be too much.
Right. Right.
And how do I find peace with me? And that. And the conditioning that has led to that lack of self-care, self-knowledge.
And that really is about taking up space.
Mm-hmm.
Taking up, your right to be here.
Mm-hmm. And reason.
And reason to be here?
And reason to be here.
I will say that since you brought up the conversation, I will say that, and I told her this, that when she said, I am too much, I'm like, man, it just hurt my heart. It hurt. I don't think.
Don't make me cry.
We'll laugh too.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's an unbelievably painful thing for anyone to ever believe about themselves, that they're too much, in the sense of I take up too much space. I am too big. I am too bright. That is how I heard it. That is how I understood what her statement was when she said it. And it hurt my heart because in that statement, there's a real big possibility that you're just denying who you are and making yourself smaller to fit. And I have been told that I am too much so many times.
Right. I could go back in history, and we're not going to rehash old history. I'm dealing with where I'm at with that right now and that question.
Right.
Am I too much? And
only you can answer that.
And if I am, does it matter to me?
What does that mean? Is that the acknowledgement of too much doesn't necessarily either mean that it's something that you're going to judge yourself for or treat yourself badly for. Many people, my understanding is that when people say that, they usually mean it as a negative connotation, that they need to change and minimize themselves so that people will love them.
Yeah.
Or at least accept them.
Yeah. And not reject them.
Right.
Which is,
And that's a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
That is a huge thing. And So the self-care in that process absolutely sounds like you decide what you're going to do with that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does. And knowing that this is like a big crossroad that I've not come to for the first time.
Yeah.
I do feel like, though, because 2020 being what it has been, and all these conjunctions, and we've got another one that's coming next week at the 21st. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of like, that's like the it. And then we start to move into new territories.
With new stuff.
With new stuff. And I would love to say it's going to be better. It's going to be different.
It'll be different. And
that's okay.
Which might make it easier for some.
Yes.
And more difficult for others.
Yes.
Depending on where we are.
Yes. And again, only strong asses come to this planet.
Yes.
Let me say that one again. And so, so that's where I get to sort of round out and close up, not just this year, not just this decade, because, really, the end of the world as we knew it happened on December 21st, 2012.
2012.
And 8, energy, is all about ownership and responsibility and leadership.
Making decisions and taking responsibility and moving forward with that.
So, more good times. But it did make me feel good, though, in the sense of if we're here and we've made it to this point in this particular time and space, reality.
For those who can't see, because none of you can, she put her hands in air quotation marks. So yes,
we've made it this far. Mm-hmm. And that is to be celebrated because, and there was a thing I posted last night on my Facebook page about, for you to be born, 2,000 and some odd other people and 400 or 4,000 years, 400 years, I think, of people had to come before you.
Oh, the ancestry.
The ancestry thing. Let me see if I can find that really quick, because that was I was like, talk about some ancestral mathematics. So in order to be born, you needed 12 previous generations, a total of 4,094 ancestors over the last 400 years. And then it says, think for a moment, how many struggles, how many battles, how many difficulties, how much sadness, how much happiness, how much success, how many love stories, how many expressions of hope for the future did our ancestors have to go through. Like, that just gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
Because I know, even though people believe that we're in the worst of times, Dickens would beg to differ.
Many historians would beg to differ. Absolutely.
And if you study history, what hasn't been scrubbed, sorry. Couldn't help it. Dig.
Oh, so
little dig.
So true.
You would see that we really have come a long way, baby, in a relatively short period of time, which again allows for my misanthropic heart to have love and hope for the humans, because, we're doing the work. It may not look like that all the time,
right?
But we are, and our ancestors did the work. Our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, our 2048 ninth great-grandparents did the work to get us here. And so we're about to transcend. Let's pretend that this was all for a really good, really big reason. Really good reason. Because there's a lot of people saying this is a really big, really bad reason. So I'm going to flip that script on y'all. And we've done it. I want to sit in that space for like 5 minutes. May I? Please? Mother, may I sit in the space at the end of this year that we did it, we survived it, we got through it. Maybe it wasn't pretty. Maybe it wasn't perfect. Yeah, maybe there's still a lot of work to be done.
Right.
There could have been a lot more work to be done.
Right.
There could have been a lot more losses.
Could have been
to
a
be
lot
had.
more harm.
So I want to just look at that, look back, grab that rope, bring it all the way to this moment in time, because somebody needs to drag it up to here or it ain't going any further.
Yeah.
And just say, whew, okay, nice work. Nice work. We'll go over next week what we could do better next time.
So Zoom meeting at 9 a.m. Does that work for everyone?
Everybody check your schedules. Meantime, go home, get some rest. You've earned it.
Yes. Self-care.
And I think that is a big part of self-care too, because we constantly keep ourselves in crisis mode. We constantly keep ourselves in what's next mode. We constantly, keep ourselves...
Which is really easy at this point in time, right? Because especially 2020 has been boom, 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 boom. Here, have some of this. Here, have some of this. Oh, yeah, now have some of this.
The little punching bozo.
Right. So, I mean, it's been that way. And then we throw on social media on top of that, which, funny enough, Sonya and I were talking about how it can be such a good thing. It could be such a good thing. But when we are re-traumatizing ourselves again and again and again through social media, I think about like September 11th, right?
Oh, yes.
So that wasn't... Social media, as we know it now, hadn't even started at that point. I can't even imagine. But at that point, I remember I was working as a flight attendant. I was loading a flight to San Diego, so everything was canceled, and they didn't know what to do with us, so we just went down to the break room at the airport. And I don't even know how many times I watched those airplanes crash into those buildings. I don't know how many times I watched people jumping out. The buildings crashing to the ground. I don't know.
Three straight days.
And I just, so there is acknowledging what happened. There is honoring, respecting, grieving, learning, understanding, healing. None of that includes re-traumatizing. And so, we have to, social media makes it so easy to re-traumatize ourselves again and again and again and again. And there's like 80 billion terrible things going on in the world.
Right.
There's 80 billion beautiful things going on in the world too.
Equally.
Right. If not more. Maybe.
It's that balance.
Right. So the access to social media can be a wonderful thing, and so many of us, myself included, step into the re-traumatizing zone. And that literally doesn't help us.
Not at all.
It doesn't help us. Doesn't matter what the trauma is.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. It's harmful to us. So I don't even know why I started that comment. But I just wanted to bring it up that we've been in that space, and we need to be, that's what it is, self-care.
Yep.
We need to be very, very aware of the information we take in, right? It doesn't mean put your head in the sand. It doesn't mean ignore the bad things. Don't even get me into only positivity bullshit, because that's not what we're talking about either. But there is a real big awareness that self-care, especially this year, this year just like screamed it, has to be about acknowledging what is helpful for you when it comes to what is being played out and what is not. I have stepped away, and I continually try to revamp my my social media with what I'm going to pay attention to. Mm-hmm. And that is part of my self-care right now.
Oh, yeah.
That is absolutely part of my self-care, because, girl, I can jump down that rabbit hole just as fast as anyone else. And it doesn't do me any good.
No. And I can react to things, like, really quick, okay? 4 degrees Mars in the 10th house in Aries, okay? And I know this, and so, I'm very proud of the fact that when I've seen those things, instead of engaging...
Right.
Through reaction, I just keep scrolling.
Yeah.
I just keep scrolling, and I just don't, let it get to me, because one, with Mars and Aries in retrograde, it wouldn't do this year, no.
It doesn't do any good.
All I can do is regulate myself.
Right.
And the self-care for myself was to just keep scrolling. Mm-hmm. And like I said, there's a lot of things you can focus your attention to, and I'm like you, I like to be informed, but once I have the information, I don't need to continue to sit there and let it, keep coming at me.
Right.
I get what I need and then I move on.
Right.
And I have found that to be very helpful, for more than this year, for quite some time.
Right, absolutely.
Probably since about 2008 was when I finally decided, hey, I can turn these things off, Going back to that self-care, just, again, focusing on yourself, we're becoming more vibrationally sensitive. And I want to talk about this one for a minute because I'm having a real hard time explaining this to the regular people. I call them the straights because you're scared of the straights, Egon.
Right. And that's from Ghostbusters.
Yes.
Oh, so anyone who she will say that often.
I love that.
Yes, it's wonderful.
When I first heard it, it was like, that's so true.
You're scaring the straights.
Scaring the straights right now. So, but we're becoming more sensitive. I think a lot of people can agree with that. To environmentals, to foods, to environments, to people.
To noise, to pollutions, to
smells.
Right.
All of this. We're becoming more sensitive. And we're opening up in all sorts of ways, like intuitively, our little cat whiskers, all of those sorts of
Spidey
things.
senses.
Our spidey senses. And so as an empath, I teach other empaths, because I had to teach myself, how to handle all of this. And this is where I find myself today in my new empath self-care regimen, is that I can no longer block out. I can only identify and release. So I'm on a catch and release program right now. I catch a feel. I make sure it's not my feel, and then I release it back to the collective. Because for a while there, and Piperlyne can attest to this, I was really frustrated with myself, with my people, like my guides, because where is my bubble? Where is my bubble?
Yeah.
And two things I recognize. One, I had created such an amazing sanctuary in my own home that I was carefree and braless, people. It was a beautiful thing. I could bounce off the walls.
Wild and free.
I was wild and free. And then I go out amongst, the world, and then it's just like I'm being like pelted with feelings and vibrations and energy and emotions and pains and all kinds of things. Laugh, don't believe me, I don't care. This is my world. And it's painful at times. And so, and I just, no matter what I did, I just couldn't sort of keep that bubble around me. And so as I finally, decided, okay, you got to sit down and you got to figure out what's going on here, right? Because you're just a mess. And now you're part of the problem.
Right.
Because nobody can throw energy around like an empath.
Right.
We just don't normally do. Right? But when we get full up, it kind of spills out over us. And then someone is walking by and they slip on it. And now you've got a potential lawsuit on your hands. It's not a pretty thing. So what I have found is that, no, there are no bubbles. Remember when they said the veil was lifted? Right? We're in quarantine, but we're out of quarantine. Wink, wink. So we're seeing more, we're feeling more, we're hearing more, we're aware of more. And it's supposed to be like that because we're growing up.
Yeah.
Your kids sit in the back seat of their car and they get driven around. And then one day they get their permit. And now you're sitting next to them praying to any God that will listen. And then they're in their car and they're saying bye and they're driving off by themselves.
Yeah.
Right? So now we've got another driver on the road. Do you feel me? Does that make sense? So another part of the self-care for me of late has been in recognizing what I already knew and then taking it to the next level, because there is no new normal.
Right.
It's just new and ever-changing.
And constantly, yes.
And
constantly
fluid.
Moving, yes.
It is that constant change. So I become more aware as I move around, as I become a vibration myself, of the interaction with other vibrational waves, and I either join them, like, think about magnets, right? I'm either going to click or I'm going to be
repel.
Yeah. And then I just go on to the next thing. But this is how I become a more ascended being.
Right.
That's what I got so far.
Because I thought about that too. My God, just before we started recording, or maybe it's at the beginning of the recording. At this point, I don't remember. But I'm tired of becoming more sensitive because, like, I haven't been walking around. So I've got Pisces Sun, Cancer Rising, Virgo Moon. I'm like sensitive to the 85th degree.
To the perfection that is Virgo. She's perfectly sensitive.
Oh, God. Oh, that's pleasant. So, but no, that's all right. Just sad because it's true. But so here's the thing for me, from my experience, because I started meditating at a very young age, and I've said that before, but I think it was a very protective mode for myself, and it protected me from a lot of the ugliness that was going around in my childhood. And, and I'm thankful for that. Yes. So it's interesting because my childhood, that was my environment, right?
Yes.
So it protected me from my environment. So as I have grown up and through periods of time, I am losing that bubble, as she was talking about, from my environment. And now I have to interact with my, physical environment more than I ever had. Right. I could go anywhere. Bad energy didn't bother me. I worked for an airline. Right. I worked
every kind of human flesh known to man.
Oh my God, and I loved it. I loved it, working at the airport, and then I was a flight attendant. So talk about being in a constrained space with, 140 of your favorite strangers. And who the hell knows what they brought into that place? I actually learned how to play with energy during that situation, which is probably another story. But and I could eat anything. I could, nothing. I could just I was completely protected from my environment. And so, that's gone.
Yeah, it is.
So there's that. So my experience is not necessarily energetic like Sonya's is. Everything is energy, but mine has definitely been playing out on the physical 3D level. And I have become sensitive to everything.
Yeah.
Food, smell, location, outside, seasonal, seasonal allergies, everything. I'm getting to the point that I can't tolerate certain smells. I'm having allergic reactions to cleaning products.
The hand sanitizer, the alcohol got you.
Yeah, totally. And so this is all response to actual physical 3D environment. And that's how it's playing out for me. And I'm in this place of, oh my God, I don't even know what to do, because I just got to always do whatever I wanted to do. And now I have to pay attention to my environment more than I've ever had to do. And I'm like a baby. I'm just like, what do you mean that allergens can actually, seasonal allergies can actually affect me? I know other people have had that.
Sure.
What do you mean I have to deal with that? Yeah. And so for me, it is absolutely the clarity and the refining of my physical body.
Yeah.
For
Fine tuning you.
Right. And I'm struggling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm struggling with that. And, but now that I'm reaching, because this awareness has just happened recently for me, approaching it from this perspective is allowing me to make some movement.
Mm-hmm. And then once you get that done, it'll be another one.
Absolutely.
Because we're onions.
There's always something
As
else.
Shrek said.
There's always something else. Shrek. Oh, the wisdom of Shrek.
The wisdom of Shrek and Donkey. Yeah, it's so true. I have often said I do not want to be a sun eater or a breatharian. I just don't. And I was always an everything in moderation kind of girl, and that's definitely gone through some shifts and changes. But this year, I think for me, going through and, spending, the last decade and then, from the beginning of my life, just each sort of growth point. But the last decade, 11 years or so, has really been focused, right? And to look back even to that point and then see where I am at now, it's just like, wow, I should be like floating by this point. I've, done so much, with this energy field of mine. Of course, I'm also still looking for the hoverboards. Why don't we have those yet? I don't understand this. Walking.
That we can stay on and not fall down.
Right. Or have them explode under our feet.
Well, that's always a bad thing.
So, what do we have to look forward to? I don't know. I just know that what I'm dealing with right here today, what I'm working through, it really is sort of, learning how to balance myself in just the right way so that I feel good, because I can do some things, and I know you've done this too. I've done some things that come out, I feel great, and then, like a clock winding down 2 or 3 weeks down the road, I'm like, I don't know what happened. I hit a wall. I was running good, and then I hit a wall. And how many walls? How many mountains?
I don't know how many mountains.
And the best that I can get, I'm not saying I like it, but the best that I can get is just that it is just this continual process of catch and release, catch and release, catch and release. And, you still get to eat at the end of the day.
Thank goodness for that.
Right. And as I just make those that fine tuning adjustments, I'm working now too on trying to be a little more collaborative, so that I can sort of address it before it becomes an issue. I'm working on that one. I understand that there are some things, there's still like blank page when you turn it.
Right.
There's nothing
things
there.
Are just going to come up sometimes.
Nothing's there yet.
Right.
And yeah, because I can't tell you how many times I've said, and y'all couldn't have told me that was coming.
They're like, nope.
Could you have given me a little help in that moment?
Nope.
So yeah, and even silly things like went to go make something and have it just be burnt.
Yeah.
Like, I love to cook, I cook, I bake, I do all of those things, and this has been a struggle this year.
Yeah.
With that, things just not quite turning out, or even to the degree of purchasing something to make, and by the time I've gone to use it, it's gone bad within less than 24 hours. Which is what led me to I'm going to walk into the store, and you just tell me what you want me to eat.
Tell me what I'm supposed to eat, yeah.
And I'll buy it. Because I don't like wasting money, and I don't like wasting food.
Right.
And so, and every day, I went and bought veggie burgers on purpose.
Did you want to?
Well, I did in the moment.
Okay.
And I ate one and put a little avocado, because I can't eat bread, so just have the patty, no bun, and it was really good.
I was going to say, some of them are not bad.
Yeah,
some of them are
Hillary's
nasty.
Fiesta Black Bean was actually pretty tasty. The trick is to get it crispy, but people that know me know. If I want a burger, I'm going to get a burger. red meat.
Right.
I have no idea. It was good, though. I enjoyed it. I did. I don't know if I'll do it again, but I did enjoy it in that moment. And so, I'm allowing for those, and I am also looking and trying to remember, that's all I can say, because I can only try in this moment. I'm just laughing at my word choices right now. To remember that could change. I might go to eat the second one and have a reaction to it, and then there's something I've got to go and figure out what I can't eat now.
Right.
And this is my self-care.
Yeah.
Because before, and actually I'm dealing with this with my mother in the house, she doesn't feel good. Well, quit eating that crap. I've cut back a lot. Cutting back doesn't cut it, lady. None of it bothers you, right?
Stop eating it.
What's causing the inflammation? What's causing the brain fog? What's giving you the headaches?
Right.
I've never known anyone that was as hard at getting off caffeine as she is. It's not physically possible at this point. Unless she's, microdosing on the side and not telling me. And again, I have no vested interest in this, but when your physician on the teleconference says, "Where's your daughter? I want her in on this."
Oh, well.
They're asking for support.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I digress. I'm telling my mom's story here. My point on that was that you can look at it. It requires a little more exploration into the why. If you are out of balance, if you are feeling good, if you are having pain, if you are sick all the time, if you are mentally sick all the time, if you are emotionally a basket case, if you're spiritually heartbroken, or not.
Or not.
It's completely your choice.
You should do that if you want to.
If you want to. I love it when she says that. You should absolutely do that if you want to. This is what I'm doing, because that's all that I can do.
Right. Absolutely.
Is to continue, because my desire is to feel the best that I can feel and live the best that I can live.
Right.
And this is what it looks like for me. And I am recognizing, and this is me giving myself the self-care in the way that I need it.
Right.
Because I don't just do things the physical, I also have to have them at the metaphysical. And one of the really interesting things is I've met people that have known me longer than I've been actually consciously. Like, I came in with all of this stuff.
Right. And
consciously in practice for the last 11 years. Mm-hmm. And yet I meet people that, oh, you were always like that.
Yeah.
So, just trying to get in that best self-care alignment that I can. And what do you do? What is do you?
Do you want to?
Do you?
What would it look like for you, for where you are? Yeah. I mean, I feel like I was just in denial that I had a body for the first 40 years of my life.
If it didn't feel safe to be there.
I mean, literally, I'm like, oh, well, I don't. And I was okay, right? Yeah. I was fine. I didn't need to worry about it. And since having my children, oh, I have a body. Right? Oh, man. You mean I got to do something with this? So that's where mine is. That has to be right now for me. Mm-hmm. And no doubt that will change. Mm-hmm. But yes, right now for me, my self-care has to be taking care of this physical body that I'm in. Because that's what I have to focus on. That's what all, if you're an astrology person, that's what all the fun in Capricorn that has been going on this year means structures for me.
and it can mean
my
that for
physical body,
because it is the physical body.
It is
the structure.
The physical
it's
body,
the framework. Right?
It's our bones.
The foundations.
It's what
yes.
holds us together, keeps us upright, mm-hmm. right? And who broke? I mean, I broke a bone. I had never broken a bone in my life. Mm. In the past 3 years, I have broken 3 bones. Wow. So, yay, one in my foot, then another one in my foot. And then, because that wasn't enough, then I had to break my knee.
Same leg?
Um,
or different?
No.
Like, did they get you coming and going?
Yeah, the two feet were my left foot
yes.
and then my right knee.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's been fun. So I can't wait for this Capricorn crap to be done. Once again, for our fellow astrology people, get Saturn and Jupiter into Aquarius, please.
Too sweet.
Please.
Although I will say though, as I started to say earlier, no guarantees.
No.
That it's going to be better. It will just be different.
But maybe my bones will have a break or a non-break, I guess I should say.
Right?
No breaking bones.
Because I can't think of a better rebel to go up against Saturn than the water bearer. Yeah, although I did hear someone talk the other day, and they also said that that Saturn is also the ruler of Aquarius.
Yes.
And so, being in its, in its comfort zone in Capricorn and then in Aquarius means that we get to have this long, I'll round up 5 years, 5 being change, of this Saturnian influence, which, the bigger, slower planets take longer.
Right.
So we don't notice them as easily as we do Mercury or the moon or things like that. And yet, we're still in Pluto in Capricorn until 2024
yes.
or 26, something like that. So, it's going to be, still going to be having some good times with this. But yes, I'm with you 100%. To be out of the Saturn and Capricorn, out of the Cancer Capricorn nodal axis will be heaven.
Right.
Heaven.
And just get me out of the drama with my physical body.
Yes.
Which is going to be moving Capricorn because it's Earth. That's what it's talking about, of course. And then moving into Aquarius, which is air. Mm-hmm. So that's mental thinking, creating, communication, social media.
Sure.
And
the
so,
internet.
Yeah, Saturn going into that signifies creating a structure around that or within that is going to be new.
Yes.
So Saturn still but there's a seriousness.
Yes.
That's connected to that. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the world, but also personally with us. But I'm sorry. I can't help it. I'm still excited. It's going to be out of Capricorn.
No, 100%. And, on the other end of that node axis, with the North Node being in Cancer, which is the home, which is the mother, which is our first house.
Yes.
Self. So it's been,
it's been us.
It's been all about me. And not in a good place.
And not easily about me.
Yes, exactly. And so maybe that's, been the case for you too.
Yeah.
And so hopefully what we shared today about what's, been going on with me, myself, and I. Feeling like a Toby Keith song here.
All 6 of us.
All 6 of us.
Her, me, myself, and I, and mine.
Is maybe there's something there for you. Maybe that will help you to look at it and go, oh, thank you for sharing. I thought I was losing my mind.
Or looking at how we are addressing it in our own life, so that there's something interesting there. But yeah, I think this is the self-care piece is also Cancer Capricorn.
100%.
Right?
100%.
Cancer is all about nurturing.
Mm-hmm.
All about nurturing.
Yes.
So anyway.
And being nurtured.
And being nurtured, yes. Or not. As
the
case may be.
So on that, let me just wrap up. I'm Sonya Lee. I'm here with Piperlyne, and you've been listening to In My Experience. And you can find us on Podbean and YouTube And our website is inmyexperience.life.
Yes.
Our email is inmy1111@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and we will try to be better with getting these out, hopefully, as we continue to work on ourselves. We can.
Well, I'm excited. We may have like an actual set place.
That is true.
And that will be huge.
That is true. We do have access to a recording studio now,
Yes.
which is way exciting, and we'll share more of that. Thank you for letting us share with you today.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. I'm really glad that you joined us, and thank you. We look forward to seeing you next week. And
we're almost done with this year. Couple more weeks. Hang in there. You can do it.
We can do it.
We can do it. We can do it.
All right. So take care of you, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.